Feeling overwhelmed by the nonstop noise, stress, and demands of modern life? You're not alone, and you're in the right place. Welcome to Yes You Can, where we help you unlock your best self with practical wisdom you can use every day. Today, we're diving into Jim Rohn's 5 rules for inner peace, simple, powerful principles designed to help you create a sense of calm, even when the world around you feels chaotic. Jim Rohn believed that peace isn't just the absence of problems, but the presence of clarity, intention, and self-awareness. If you've been searching for a way to quiet your mind, find balance, and reconnect with what really matters, you're about to discover tools that can reshape your entire outlook. Let's explore how you can build your own foundation of calm, starting from within. Let's take a moment and be honest with ourselves. How often do you actually feel calm? Not just okay, or less stressed than usual, but really, truly at peace inside. I'm talking about that gentle sense of quiet where your mind isn't racing ahead to the next problem, and your chest isn't tight with worry. For most of us, moments like that are rare. Maybe they feel impossible. Maybe there's just too much on your plate, too much noise, too much happening every single day. It's easy to believe that peace is something you find outside yourself, once you get a new job, or when your relationships improve, or after you finally get it together. But what if we have it backwards? What if calm isn't at the end of some finish line, or waiting for us in the next chapter? What if inner peace is something you build, moment by moment, exactly where you are, right now? Jim Rohn, the legendary thinker and mentor, spent decades studying what makes a meaningful life. And he always came back to this one powerful truth: you can't control the world around you, its chaos, its changes, the unexpected stress that shows up at your door. But you can absolutely control what's happening inside you. Think about that for a second. Every day, we're hit with so many things outside of our control: work deadlines, bills, traffic, opinions, the unpredictable moods of the people we care about. It's tempting to think, if only everything would calm down, I could finally feel okay. But as Jim Rohn taught, waiting for the world to settle is a losing game. Life just isn't designed that way. Instead, he invites us to shift our focus inward. Real peace starts not with fixing your circumstances, but with changing your perspective. It's about learning to manage your mind, your reactions, your beliefs. In Rohn's words, it's not what happens that determines the quality of your life, it's what you do about what happens. That's simple, but it's not always easy. In fact, it runs completely counter to what most of us are taught. We're raised to believe that if we just work hard enough, change enough things, or avoid all the wrong turns, we'll finally get to a place where everything is calm. But then life comes along, unexpected, unplanned, and throws us off balance again. So, why does inner peace matter so much, especially right now? Because in this noisy, fast-moving world, the greatest gift you can give yourself isn't another to-do list, or a new distraction, or even a vacation, though those can help, too. The real gift is the ability to be steady, to breathe, to trust that, no matter what's swirling around you, you have a home inside yourself that can't be shaken. That's what Jim Rohn believed. And honestly, isn't that what we're all quietly craving? It matters because without inner peace, we're easily knocked off course. We react instead of respond. We take things personally. We get tangled up in other people's drama, or lost in our own self-criticism. Our days end up feeling like endless firefighting, instead of something meaningful. But with inner peace, real, steady calm, we become unshakable. We learn to let go of the small stuff, to stop chasing approval, to loosen our grip on things we can't control. We show up for our lives more fully, more present. We make better decisions, and we treat ourselves and others with more kindness. Jim Rohn would say that peace is a decision, not a destination. And doesn't that give you a little bit of hope? Because if inner peace is a decision, it means you don't have to wait for it. You don't even have to earn it. You can make that choice right now, even if things around you are completely chaotic. Now, I know what you might be thinking. How is that possible? How can I feel calm when life is throwing curveballs left and right? Well, Rohn's answer is both gentle and firm. You can't always control what life throws at you, but you can control how you choose to react. That's the foundation of all his wisdom, and it's what makes his philosophy so powerful, so practical, and so timeless. It's also deeply human. Because let's be honest, none of us get it right all the time. We all have moments when stress overwhelms us, or worry steals our sleep, or anger flares up and we say things we wish we could take back. We all lose our balance. That's not a sign that you're failing. It's just a sign that you're alive. But here's the difference. When you start to build inner peace, you recover faster. You notice when you're off center, and you know how to gently return. You stop chasing perfection and start embracing progress. You remember that life isn't about controlling every outcome, but about learning how to stay rooted and calm, no matter what. Inner peace matters because it changes the way you experience everything. The big moments, sure, but especially the small ones. A difficult conversation becomes less frightening. A setback at work doesn't define your whole week. You find yourself smiling more, breathing a little deeper, letting go a little faster. You start to trust yourself because you know that you can handle whatever comes next. And in a world overflowing with noise and demands, that's no small thing. That's everything. Jim Rohn's philosophy offers hope, not because it promises that life will suddenly get easy, but because it shows us a different way to live. A way that isn't about shutting out the world, or pretending bad things don't happen, but about building a kind of calm that travels with you, wherever you go. He believed that anyone, no matter their story, their struggles, their starting point, could learn to create this peace. It's not reserved for monks on a mountaintop or people with perfectly balanced lives. It's for you, right here, right now. You don't need more discipline, or more hours in the day, or the approval of everyone you know. You just need a willingness to look inside, to ask yourself, what am I really thinking? What do I truly value? How can I see this differently? That's the beginning of perspective. And perspective is where real peace is born. When you take responsibility for your perspective, everything changes. Suddenly, life isn't something happening to you, it's something you shape, moment by moment. Even in the middle of the chaos, you begin to notice the spaces where calm is possible, in your breath, in a quiet pause, in the way you choose to respond instead of react. That's the freedom Jim Rohn wanted for everyone. And it's available to you, even in the middle of a stressful day, even on your worst morning. Because perspective is always within your reach, no matter what's happening around you. You might be wondering, does this mean I'm supposed to ignore reality? Pretend things are fine when they're not? Absolutely not. In fact, it's the opposite. True inner peace, the kind that lasts, is about facing reality with open eyes. It's about making space for all your feelings, good, bad, and messy, and still choosing to come back to calm, over and over again. It's a practice. And just like any practice, it doesn't have to be perfect. Some days, you'll feel steady and confident, and other days, you'll feel anything but. That's okay. What matters is that you keep returning. That you keep choosing peace, even when it feels difficult. Especially when it feels difficult. The truth is, our world isn't slowing down anytime soon. There will always be more to do, more to worry about, more to chase. But you don't have to be swept away by all of it. You can become the calm in the storm, the steady center that gives you strength, even on the hardest days. And here's the best part: when you cultivate inner peace, it doesn't just benefit you. It ripples out to everyone you meet. Your family, your friends, your coworkers. When you show up with more calm, more patience, more perspective, you give others permission to do the same. You become a safe place, not just for yourself, but for the people you care about. That's real power. And it starts with the decision to look within, to change your perspective, and to gently guide your mind back to calm. Jim Rohn's wisdom is full of gentle reminders. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills. These aren't just catchy quotes, they're invitations to transform the way you live. To turn your focus from what's wrong out there to what's possible in here. It's not about denying the difficulties you're facing. It's about realizing that your mindset shapes your experience of those difficulties. When you shift your perspective, the world around you doesn't have to change for you to feel at peace. You begin to see challenges as opportunities, frustration as a signal to look deeper, and every setback as a chance to practice calm. Inner peace matters, not because it makes problems disappear, but because it gives you the clarity and strength to face them. It helps you step back and ask, is this worth my energy? What's the most loving thing I can do for myself right now? How can I bring a little more calm to this situation? And those questions, asked often enough, start to rewire your entire life. Imagine what your days would look like if peace was your starting point, not your reward. If you woke up and, before checking your phone, you paused to notice your breath. If you took a minute, just for yourself, to remember that you can choose calm, no matter what the day brings. That's not selfish. In fact, it's one of the most generous things you can do, not just for you, but for everyone you touch. Because peace is contagious. When you find it in yourself, you help others find it, too. Jim Rohn's legacy is all about small shifts that have a big impact. He never claimed that life would suddenly get easy, or that you'd become untouchable. Instead, he promised something even better, that you could learn, step by step, to become the kind of person who faces life's storms with grace and courage. So, as we move into the rules and ideas that follow, I want you to hold on to this simple truth. Real calm starts inside. Not in your schedule, not in your salary, not in the approval of others. Not even in your achievements. It begins in the way you see the world, and the way you choose to see yourself. You may not be able to change everything happening around you, but you can change the way you experience it. And that, as Jim Rohn would say, makes all the difference. So, let's take a deep breath together. Let's set down the weight of waiting for life to be perfect, or for everyone else to calm down first. Instead, let's open up to the idea that peace is something you can create, one mindful choice at a time, right where you are. That's why inner peace matters, because it's the foundation for everything else. For clarity, for happiness, for resilience, for love. When you have peace within, you have a compass that keeps you steady, even when life feels like it's spinning out of control. And that's exactly what Jim Rohn wanted for all of us. Not just a life that looks good on the outside, but a life that feels good on the inside. A life built on calm, clarity, and inner strength. As we go deeper into his 5 essential rules, remember, you're not here to magically make the world easier. You're here to create a kind of steady calm that stays with you, no matter what comes. Because at the end of the day, that's the only peace that truly lasts. So, if your world feels crazy, if your mind is crowded, if you're longing for a little more quiet inside, know that you're not alone. And know that there is hope. Jim Rohn's philosophy is a map, not a miracle. It's a set of tools that anyone can use, starting from exactly where they are. All it takes is a willingness to see things differently. To pause, even for a moment, and ask yourself, how can I bring more peace to this moment? How can I shift my perspective, just a little bit? That's the first step. The rest is practice. Together, we'll explore all 5 rules, simple, practical, and deeply powerful. But it all begins here, with the choice to look inside, and to believe that peace is possible, even in the middle of the mess. So, why does inner peace matter? Because it's the one thing no one can give you or take away. It's your birthright, your anchor, your quiet superpower. And it's waiting for you to claim it, one mindful breath, one gentle thought, one new perspective at a time. Let's begin. Let's start with Jim Rohn's very first rule for finding inner peace: master your thoughts. Now, I know, we hear this all the time, right? Change your mindset. Think positive. Sometimes it's hard not to roll your eyes. But when Jim talked about mastering your thoughts, he didn't mean pretending to be happy or ignoring problems. He meant learning how to guide your mind, instead of letting it wander wherever it wants. Think about it like this: your mind is a garden. If you don't plant anything, weeds show up. Negative thoughts, worries, doubts, they just appear on their own. But if you take charge, if you decide what you want to grow, that's where peace starts to take root. Jim used to say, "Stand guard at the door of your mind." That image really stuck with me. Imagine you're the gatekeeper. You decide what gets in and what stays out. Not every thought is true, and not every worry deserves your attention. The power comes from choosing which thoughts you feed and which ones you let pass by. So, how do you actually do this? How do you stand guard at the door of your mind? The first step is noticing. Most of us are so used to the constant chatter in our heads that we don't even hear it anymore. But if you pause, just for a minute, and really listen, what are you saying to yourself right now? Are you replaying arguments, worrying about things you can't control, or beating yourself up over a mistake? Jim believed that self-awareness was the beginning of all change. If you want to master your thoughts, you have to notice them first. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly you see what you're dealing with. Here's a simple practice to try. Set aside a few moments each morning to check in with yourself. Before you reach for your phone, before you get swept up in the day, just notice. What's going on in your mind? Are you tense? Are you already stressed? Or is there a little bit of hope and excitement in there, too? You can even jot your thoughts down. Sometimes, writing them out is the quickest way to see them clearly. When you see your worries or fears on paper, they lose a bit of their power. They're just words. Just thoughts. Not facts. Jim also talked about the importance of challenging your thoughts, especially the negative ones. Just because your mind offers up a worry doesn't mean you have to accept it. You can question it. You can ask, is this really true? Is there another way to see this? Let's say you catch yourself thinking, I always mess things up. That's a common one, isn't it? But instead of letting that thought spiral, pause and challenge it. Is it really true that you always mess things up? Probably not. You can ask yourself, when have I done something well? What have I learned from past mistakes? That simple shift, challenging your thoughts, asking better questions, creates space. Space between you and your worries. Space where calm can grow. Now, mastering your thoughts isn't about controlling every single idea that pops into your head. That's but you get to choose how seriously you take them. You get to decide which ones you believe and which ones you gently let pass by. One of Jim's favorite strategies was to replace negative thoughts with empowering ones. Not fake positivity, just gentle reminders that you have what it takes, or that you're learning and growing. For example, instead of thinking, "I can't handle this," you could try, "I'm learning how to handle this, one step at a time." That small shift changes everything. You don't have to believe every thought your mind serves up. You can listen, and then choose. That's where your power is. Another habit Jim swore by was quiet time, time alone, away from all the noise, just to think. He said, "Take time to reflect. Take time to think. Even 5 minutes can make a difference. Sit quietly, breathe, listen to your thoughts. Notice which ones are helpful and which ones just stir up anxiety." If all of this sounds a little daunting, remember, you don't have to do it perfectly. The goal isn't to have a perfectly silent mind. The goal is to become a little more aware every day, a little more in charge, a little more peaceful inside. Let's talk about a few daily habits you can start right now, no matter how busy you are. First, practice mindfulness. And no, you don't need to meditate for an hour every day. Mindfulness just means paying attention to what's happening right now, without judgment. Try this. The next time you're washing the dishes or taking a shower, notice the feel of the water, the smell of the soap, the sound of the bubbles. Every time your mind drifts to worry or stress, just gently bring it back to what you're doing. It may seem small, but these little moments of presence add up. They teach your mind to be here, not lost in endless what-ifs. Another habit, limit your exposure to negativity. Jim talked about this a lot. Think about what you're feeding your mind every day: news, social media, endless commentary about what's wrong with the world. If you notice that certain things make you anxious or angry, it's okay to take a break. Stand guard at the door of your mind. Protect your peace. You can even set boundaries for yourself. For example, only read the news once a day. Or unfollow accounts that drain your energy. Fill your mind with things that inspire you, challenge you, or make you feel hopeful. Gratitude is another powerful tool for mastering your thoughts. When you focus on what you're thankful for, even if it's just something small, your mind starts to shift. It's like retraining your brain to look for the good, instead of always scanning for danger or disappointment. Try this every evening. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. Maybe the coffee was extra good this morning. Maybe you had a laugh with a friend. Maybe you just made it through a tough day. When you end your day on a note of gratitude, your mind learns to look for the positive. Now, let's talk about self-talk, because that's where a lot of mental noise lives. We all have that inner voice, the one that narrates our day, judges our actions, sometimes encourages us, sometimes tears us down. Jim believed that your self-talk could either be your best friend or your worst enemy. The trick is to become aware of it and to gently shift it in a kinder direction. The next time you catch yourself thinking something harsh or critical, pause. Imagine you're talking to a friend. Would you say those words to them? If not, how could you soften that message? Maybe instead of, "I'm so stupid for making that mistake," you could say, "I made a mistake, but I'm learning. I can do better next time." This isn't about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about talking to yourself the way you'd talk to someone you love. That alone can create so much more peace inside. Another simple practice is intentional breathing. Our thoughts and our breath are deeply connected. When your mind is racing, your breath usually speeds up, too. But when you slow your breath, your thoughts tend to slow down as well. Try this right now, if you want. Take a slow, deep breath. In through your nose, hold it for a second, and then out through your mouth. Do that a few more times. Feel your body relax just a little. Sometimes, returning to your breath is all it takes to interrupt a cycle of anxious thoughts. Jim often reminded people that you are not your thoughts. You have thoughts, yes, but you are something deeper, something steady and quiet underneath all the noise. When you remember that, you don't get swept away so easily by every worry or fear. So, let's recap some of these daily habits. First, take time to notice your thoughts. Just observe, without judgment. Second, challenge the negative ones. Ask better questions, look for a different angle. Third, practice mindfulness, bring your attention back to the present. Fourth, limit your exposure to negativity. Be the gatekeeper of your mind. Fifth, use gratitude to shift your focus from what's missing to what's going well. And finally, treat yourself with kindness in your self-talk. Remember, you're learning. You're trying. That's enough. I know this all sounds simple, maybe even obvious. But that's what makes it powerful. Jim used to say, what's easy to do is also easy not to do. The real difference comes from actually practicing these things, a little bit every day. Maybe you're wondering, can I really change my mind? Is it possible to find peace with so much going on? The answer is yes, but not overnight. It takes patience and a little bit of grace for yourself along the way. Let me share a quick story that Jim loved. He often talked about the seasons of life, the fact that winter always comes, but so does spring. When your mind is full of worry or sadness, it can help to remember that thoughts are like seasons, too. They change. No feeling, no thought, lasts forever. If you can sit with it, breathe, and not panic, it will pass. That's mastering your thoughts in action. Sometimes, the simplest way to quiet mental noise is to step outside. Nature has a way of slowing everything down. Take a walk, leave your phone at home, look up at the sky or notice the trees. As your senses wake up, your thoughts start to settle. You come back to yourself. Jim also believed in the power of learning. He used to say, your mind will be busy. Make sure it's busy growing. Read, listen to inspiring talks, seek out ideas that challenge and uplift you. The more you learn, the less space there is for pointless worry. Of course, this doesn't mean you never feel stressed or overwhelmed. We all do. But when you master your thoughts, you create a little distance. You realize you have choices. You don't have to believe every anxious story your mind tells you. You can pause, take a breath, and decide, what do I want to focus on right now? What's one small thing I can do? That's all it takes to bring a little peace into a hectic day. I think sometimes we expect inner peace to feel like a lightning bolt, a sudden moment where everything changes. But the truth is, it's built out of tiny choices, repeated over and over. Each time you choose to notice your thoughts, to challenge them, to come back to the present, you're building peace. One moment at a time. And some days, you will forget. Some days, the noise in your mind will feel too loud to ignore. That's okay. The beauty is, you can always begin again. Each day, each hour if you need to. Jim used to say, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. That sounds tough, but really, it's hopeful. Because you can get better at this. You can get better at noticing your thoughts, better at caring for your mind. And every small step counts. If you want one place to start, try this. Pick one thought today that you want to practice letting go. Maybe it's a worry about something you can't control. Maybe it's a harsh story you keep telling yourself. When it shows up, just notice it. Say to yourself, "There's that thought again." Then take a deep breath and gently bring your mind back to the present moment. That's it. That's how mastery begins. Over time, you'll start to notice there's a little more space in your mind. A little less clutter. More room for calm, for clarity, for hope. And remember, you're not alone in this. Every single person, yes, even Jim Rohn himself, struggled with their thoughts sometimes. The only difference is, he practiced. He made it a habit to stand guard, to choose his focus, to return to peace again and again. So, if your mind feels busy or overwhelmed right now, take heart. You can master your thoughts. You can learn to guide your mind, gently, back to what matters. And as you do, you'll discover that peace isn't somewhere out there, it's right here, waiting inside you, in every moment you choose to come back. Let's keep moving forward. Because the next rule is just as important, learning how to reframe negative emotions. But for now, remember, your thoughts are powerful, but you're even more powerful. You get to choose what grows in your mind. And that's where true inner peace begins. Now, let's talk about something we all face, those tough, uncomfortable emotions that seem to show up uninvited. You know the ones: stress, frustration, disappointment, maybe even a little anger. Jim Rohn had a way of looking at these feelings that's honestly pretty refreshing. He didn't see negative emotions as enemies to be crushed or avoided. Instead, he saw them as teachers. Signals. Clues that could actually help us grow, if we approach them with a sense of curiosity instead of judgment. Let's be real, when you're in the thick of a rough day, the last thing you want is someone telling you to just calm down or think positive. That often just makes things worse, right? What Rohn suggests is a little different. He invites us not to ignore our emotions, but to lean in and listen. To get curious about what's really going on inside. So, how do we actually do that? How do we reframe those negative emotions, rather than letting them run the show? Well, let's start with stress. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed. Maybe you had way too much on your plate, and your mind was racing. Most of us, by default, see stress as a bad thing. A sign that we're failing, or that something's wrong with us. But Rohn challenges us to see stress as information. It's just your mind and body's way of letting you know that something needs your attention. Instead of beating yourself up for feeling stressed, what if you paused and asked yourself a simple question: what is this stress trying to tell me? Maybe it's a nudge that you need to set a boundary. Maybe it's a sign you're taking on too much, or not giving yourself enough space to breathe. Or maybe it's just a reminder to prioritize what really matters most right now. This small shift, from judging our stress to getting curious about it, is incredibly powerful. It turns stress into an ally, instead of an enemy. It gives us the chance to respond, rather than just react. Rohn used to say, "Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better." But that's not about being hard on yourself. It's about using every challenge, including those tough emotions, as raw material for growth. Each time you feel stressed, ask yourself, how can I use this feeling to get better? What can I learn here? That simple pause, that curiosity, can change everything. Let's talk about frustration. We all get frustrated. Maybe your project at work hit a snag. Maybe a friend let you down. Or maybe you're just stuck in traffic, and every minute feels like an hour. It's so easy to spiral when we're frustrated, to get angry at ourselves, or lash out at others, or just let the feeling stew inside. But here's where Rohn's wisdom really shines. He would say, frustration is one of the greatest motivators of change. Think about that for a second. Frustration isn't a sign that you're failing, it's a sign that you care. That you want things to be better. Instead of judging yourself harshly for feeling frustrated, what if you asked, where is this coming from? What am I hoping for that isn't happening right now? Sometimes, just naming our unmet needs takes the sting out of the emotion. You might realize you value respect, or progress, or connection, and right now, that value isn't being met. Okay. So what can you do about it? Rohn was big on taking personal responsibility. He'd say, if you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. So, your frustration becomes your guide. It points you right to the areas in your life that are ripe for growth, or ready for a fresh approach. Maybe it's time to have an honest conversation. Maybe you need to tweak your strategy, or adjust your expectations. The key is to let frustration spark reflection, instead of self-blame. Not, why am I like this? But, what's this feeling telling me about what matters to me? And how can I use it to move forward? Now, let's get real for a moment about the tougher emotions, like anger, sadness, or even jealousy. These can feel especially heavy, and our first instinct might be to push them away. But here's the truth, whatever you resist, tends to persist. Rohn's approach was to face these emotions head-on, but with a sense of compassion. Imagine treating your own feelings the way you'd treat a struggling friend. You wouldn't yell at them to get over it or ignore them entirely. You'd listen. You'd offer understanding. You'd ask gentle questions. So, next time you're feeling angry or sad, instead of saying, I shouldn't feel this way, try asking, what's underneath this feeling? What story am I telling myself right now? You might find that anger is really about feeling powerless in a situation. Or that sadness is pointing to something, or someone, you really care about. Jealousy might be shining a light on a dream that you've tucked away and forgotten. When you get curious about your emotions, you open the door to self-understanding. And when you understand yourself, you're in a better place to choose how to respond. You move from reacting out of habit to responding with intention. That's where real inner peace starts to grow. It all comes back to this core idea: emotions aren't problems. They're messages. And if you listen, really listen, they can guide you to what needs attention, where you can heal, and how you can grow. Now, of course, this doesn't mean you have to like every feeling that comes up. Let's be honest. No one enjoys feeling anxious or irritable or disappointed. But Rohn reminds us that the goal isn't to erase negative emotions, it's to change our relationship with them. He'd say, let your feelings serve you, not enslave you. That's a powerful shift. So, next time you're hit with a wave of stress or frustration, pause for a moment. Take a breath. And instead of getting swept away or trying to shove the feeling down, see if you can observe it with a little bit of distance. Almost like you're a scientist looking at your own inner world. What's this feeling trying to teach me? Is there something I need to change or let go of? Is there a value I'm neglecting or a need I'm not meeting? This isn't about wallowing. It's about noticing, learning, and then choosing your next step with a clear mind. Let me give you a simple practice you can try the next time you're caught in a negative emotion. It's 3 steps: notice, name, nurture. First, notice the emotion. Just admit, yep, I'm feeling overwhelmed. No judgment. No story. Just noticing. Second, name it. Give it a label. This is frustration. This is disappointment. Naming the emotion puts a little bit of space between you and the feeling. It reminds you, you are not your emotion. You're the observer. Finally, nurture. Ask yourself, what would help me right now? Maybe you need a few deep breaths. Maybe you need to take a walk. Or talk it out with someone you trust. Sometimes, the simple act of kindness toward yourself is enough to shift the energy. Rohn believed that self-compassion was essential, not as an excuse, but as fuel for positive change. When you nurture yourself in those tough moments, you give yourself the grace to try again. To learn. To grow. Let's talk for a second about comparison. It's one of those sneaky emotions that can steal our peace before we even notice. You scroll through social media or hear about someone else's success, and suddenly, you're flooded with self-doubt or envy. Jim Rohn used to say, the only person you should try to be better than is the person you were yesterday. When you catch yourself comparing, remember, that feeling isn't a sign that you're falling behind. It's just a sign that you care about growth. So, once again, get curious. What in their story is inspiring me? What qualities do I admire? Instead of letting comparison turn into resentment, let it guide you toward your own goals. Use it as motivation, not ammunition against yourself. Now, I know, it sounds simple, but it's not always easy. Especially when emotions are running high, or life feels especially chaotic. That's exactly why Rohn's philosophy is so powerful. It doesn't ask us to be perfect. It asks us to pay attention. To treat our emotions with the respect they deserve, as messengers, not masters. There's another beautiful piece of wisdom from Rohn I want to share. He said, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. And I think the same is true for emotional discipline. It's not about controlling every feeling, or pretending to be calm when you're not. It's about building the muscle to pause. To notice. To choose your response, instead of letting emotions choose for you. Over time, those small pauses add up. You start to see patterns. You realize, hey, every time I feel irritable in the afternoon, it's usually because I didn't eat lunch. Or, whenever I get anxious before a meeting, it's because I care about doing well. Awareness grows. And with awareness comes choice. That's where Rohn's second rule really comes alive. Reframing negative emotions isn't about faking positivity. It's about developing a genuine sense of self-awareness and using that awareness to make better choices. Here's another practical way to put this into action. If you notice you're feeling off, maybe upset or discouraged, grab a journal or even just a scrap of paper. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Write it down. Then ask, what triggered this feeling? Try to be honest, without blaming yourself or anyone else. Finally, ask, what would I say to a friend in this situation? Often, we're much kinder and wiser with others than we are with ourselves. So, borrow some of that kindness for yourself. You might be surprised at how quickly your mindset shifts. Suddenly, what felt like a mountain starts to look more like a bump in the road. You realize, I can handle this. I've got choices. And that little bit of calm creates space for peace. Let's get really practical for a moment. Sometimes, reframing a negative emotion is as simple as changing your language. For example, instead of saying, I have to do this, try saying, I get to do this, or I choose to do this. It seems small, but the words we use shape the way we feel. They shape our reality. Jim Rohn taught that our words are powerful tools for transformation. So, next time you catch yourself grumbling, see if you can reframe it, even if just a little. Instead of, this is impossible, try, this is challenging, but I can take it one step at a time. Instead of, I'm so stressed, try, I'm noticing I feel tense, and I'm curious about why. You're not denying the feeling, you're just opening the door to new possibilities. And little by little, your mindset starts to shift. There's another tool I want to share with you, one Rohn often spoke about, perspective. He said, it's not what happens that determines the quality of your life. It's what you do about what happens. When you're caught in a negative emotion, zoom out for a moment. Ask yourself, how will I see this in a week? In a month? In a year? Sometimes, what feels huge today will seem small with a little distance. That perspective helps soften the grip of difficult emotions. It reminds you, you've been through tough times before, and you've made it through. You're stronger than you think. And every challenge is just another chapter in your story, not the whole book. If you're the kind of person who likes to use visuals, here's a metaphor you might like. Imagine your emotions as guests at a party. Some are pleasant, like joy and excitement. Others, like stress or anger, can be a little rowdy. Your job isn't to kick anyone out or pretend they're not there. It's to greet each guest with curiosity. Frustration, I see you've arrived early. What brings you here today? By treating your emotions as visitors, you're less likely to get swept up in their drama. And you always remember, you're the host. You get to decide how you want to respond. That sense of agency is the foundation of inner peace. Now, I know there will be days when this feels like hard work. Days when you'd rather just numb out, or pretend everything's fine. That's okay, too. Rohn believed that growth happens in small steps, not giant leaps. So, if all you can do today is notice an emotion without judging it, that's enough. If you can get even a little curious, ask, what's really going on here? That's progress. Over time, Each small act of awareness adds up. You become more resilient, less easily rattled, more able to find calm in the midst of the storm. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. Reach out to people you trust. Sometimes, just voicing what you're feeling, naming it out loud, takes away half its power. Jim Rohn often spoke about the importance of surrounding yourself with good people. People who can listen, reflect, and stand by you as you move through challenging emotions. We'll talk more about that in a bit. For now, remember, every emotion has something to teach us. Even the hard ones. Especially the hard ones. They show us where we're growing, where we care deeply, where we still have healing to do. And each time you choose curiosity over judgment, you make it that much easier to return to peace. You become the calm in your own storm. You start to see that negative emotions aren't detours away from peace, they're actually stepping stones leading you back to yourself. So, as you go about your day, and the inevitable stresses and frustrations pop up, remember Rohn's wisdom. Pause. Get curious. Ask, what can I learn from this? Treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a good friend. And trust that every emotion, no matter how uncomfortable, can help guide you toward deeper understanding, growth, and peace. Because at the end of the day, inner calm isn't about having a life free from all negative emotions. It's about learning to move through them with awareness and intention. That's how you build real, lasting peace from the inside out. And with that, let's move to the next rule, living with gratitude and intention. Now, let's talk about something that can gently transform the way you experience every single day of your life, living with gratitude and intention. I want you to imagine, just for a moment, starting your morning not by rushing to check your phone, but by pausing to notice something you already have, a warm bed, the quiet before the world wakes up, maybe even the sound of your own breath. That's gratitude in its purest form, not waiting for big, spectacular moments, but appreciating the quiet gifts that are already here. Jim Rohn was a master at uncovering the extraordinary in the ordinary. He believed that gratitude isn't just a mood or feeling that drifts in and out. It's a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And when you choose gratitude, especially in small, ordinary moments, life slows down. You start to see beauty where you never noticed it before. Stress loses its grip. The day feels lighter. But here's the secret, gratitude and intention go hand in hand. You see, when you're grateful, you're more present. You're not living in regrets about yesterday or worries about tomorrow. You're right here, grounded in what's good, right now. And that presence gives you the clarity to make small but powerful choices, choices that line up with who you truly want to be. Let's get practical for a minute. Rohn used to say, wherever you are, be there. It sounds simple, but think about it. How much of your day is spent halfway somewhere else, distracted by thoughts or pulled in 1,000 directions? Living with intention means showing up fully. It means deciding, this is what matters to me. This is what I stand for. This is how I want to move through my day. So how do you bring more gratitude and intention into your own life? It starts with noticing. Pay attention to one small thing you usually overlook, the taste of your coffee, the smile from a stranger, the way sunlight spills across the floor. No moment is too small to appreciate. In fact, It's the little things that build up to a sense of lasting peace. Jim loved to give this simple exercise. At the end of each day, jot down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be huge or life-changing. Maybe your lunch was delicious. Maybe you heard your favorite song on the radio. Maybe someone held the door open for you. Writing them down cements them in your memory. It rewires your brain, trains your mind to look for the good. And over time, you'll find you see more to appreciate, even on the tough days. But gratitude is just one part of the equation. The other half is intention, living on purpose, instead of drifting through your routines on autopilot. Jim Rohn often talked about the power of setting personal values. He believed that everyone needs a philosophy for their life, a set of truths they come back to, over and over, no matter how stormy things get. When you know your values, you have a compass. You're not swayed by every little setback or opinion. You choose your response, rather than reacting out of habit. Maybe kindness is a core value for you, or honesty, or creativity. Whatever it is, take a moment to name it. Ask yourself, what's really important to me? And then, look for small ways to honor that value today. If kindness matters, can you offer a word of encouragement to someone who needs it? If creativity is your value, can you spend 10 minutes doodling, writing, singing, whatever lights you up? Intention is not about grand gestures or making your life look perfect. It's about aligning your actions with what matters most to you, one choice at a time. Jim used to say, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. The same goes for peace. Inner calm doesn't come from waiting for the world to slow down. It comes from practicing, deliberately, the things that make you feel steady inside, even when there's chaos around you. So, let's talk about how the smallest choices can set the tone for your whole day. When you wake up, instead of thinking about everything you have to do, pause and set a gentle intention. Maybe it's, today, I'll look for reasons to smile. Or, today, I'll listen more than I speak. Or simply, today, I'll be kind to myself. This isn't about being perfect. It's about creating a direction for your day, one that pulls you back to your center when life gets noisy. And don't underestimate the ripple effect of these choices. When you lead with gratitude, people feel it. Your energy shifts. You become less reactive, more open, more generous. When you live with intention, your actions start to reflect your deepest values. It's contagious. Others notice. They feel safer, calmer, more inspired around you. But let's be real. There will be days when gratitude feels out of reach, when life is heavy, and it's hard to find anything good. Jim Rohn understood that, too. He didn't believe in forcing yourself to be happy all the time. Instead, he recommended looking for hidden blessings, lessons, or opportunities even in the hardest moments. Maybe a tough conversation teaches you patience. Maybe a challenge brings you closer to someone you love. Even on those days, if you can find just one small thing to appreciate, you're planting seeds for tomorrow's peace. A helpful practice when your mind gets stuck in negativity is to gently redirect your thoughts. Try asking yourself, what's one thing I can appreciate right now, even in this mess? It could be your own resilience. It could be a friend who checks in. It could be the fact that you're still breathing, still trying. These small recognitions are not denial, they're a way of reconnecting with hope when you need it most. Remember, gratitude and intention are not just practices, they're lifelines. They anchor you when storms come and help you savor the quiet, sunny days. The more you make them part of your routine, the more natural they become. Jim had a wonderful metaphor for this. He said, "Gratitude is like sunlight for the garden of your mind. When you shine it, things bloom. When you neglect it, weeds of stress and worry start to take over." So, every day, ask yourself, what am I shining light on today? Is it my problems, my fears, my to-do list? Or is it the simple things that bring me joy? Intention, in this metaphor, is like planting seeds. Each choice you make, what you focus on, how you respond, the words you speak, these are seeds you're putting into the soil of your life. Some will grow quickly, others take time. But with patience and care, you'll wake up one day and realize you've cultivated a life that feels peaceful from the inside out. Maybe you're wondering, does this really make that much of a difference? Can something as simple as gratitude and intention change my mood, or even my life? The answer is yes. Scientific research backs up what Jim Rohn taught for decades. People who practice gratitude regularly feel less stressed, sleep better, and have healthier relationships. Setting daily intentions rewires your brain. Over time, you become less reactive, more mindful, more able to choose your response, instead of getting pulled along by old habits. But more than statistics, this is about the felt experience of your own life. When you pause to notice the good, and when you make intentional choices that honor who you are, you create space for peace to grow. You become the kind of person who can weather life's storms without losing your sense of self. Let's try something together, right now. Think of one thing you're grateful for. It can be anything, a person, a memory, even a cup of tea in your hands. Let yourself really feel that appreciation. Notice how your body softens, how your mind slows down, just for a moment. Now, set a tiny intention for the rest of your day. Maybe it's to breathe deeply when you feel tense, or to say thank you to someone you care about. These are simple acts, but they are powerful. They create a sense of agency. You remember that you are not just reacting to life. You're shaping it, one choice at a time. Jim Rohn believed that if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. That's the core of gratitude and intention. Life is always going to have its ups and downs. But when you look for what's good, and when you choose how you want to show up, you become more resilient. You become less likely to get tossed around by every twist and turn. And if you practice this every day, even for a few minutes, you'll start to notice something incredible. The ordinary days, those regular, nothing special days, suddenly become sweeter. You laugh more. You worry less. Your relationships deepen. Opportunities that used to slip by unnoticed start to catch your eye. You realize that peace isn't something waiting for you at the end of a busy week, or after you've checked off all your to-dos. It's available to you, right now, in every moment you choose to notice the good and align with your values. So, how do you stay consistent with this? One of Jim's best pieces of advice was to build small routines. Maybe you start each morning by writing down what you're grateful for, or you close your day by naming a win, no matter how tiny. Maybe you set a daily intention on your phone as a reminder that pops up midday. Even just a sticky note on your bathroom mirror can be enough, a gentle nudge to remember what matters to you. The point isn't to be rigid or never miss a day. Life happens. Some days you'll forget, or you'll be too busy, or gratitude will feel far away. That's okay. The practice is always there, waiting for you, the next time you reach for it. Over time, you'll notice that you recover from stress more quickly. The little annoyances that once ruined your mood now just roll off your back. You'll find yourself responding with more patience, more humor, more perspective. And here's something beautiful: gratitude and intention are contagious. When you start living this way, the people around you feel it. Your calm gives them permission to slow down. 2. Your appreciation makes them feel seen. Your intentional actions inspire others to be more thoughtful with their own choices. This is how you create an environment of peace, not just inside yourself, but in your home, your workplace, your community. One person choosing gratitude and intention can make a room feel lighter. Imagine what's possible if more of us practice this, even a little bit, every day. Jim Rohn often reminded people, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Gratitude and intention help you become better, not in a competitive or exhausting way, but in a gentle, persistent way. You get better at noticing what's already working in your life. You get better at steering your day back on course when things get rough. You get better at choosing, moment by moment, how you want to show up. And you don't have to wait for some future version of yourself to start. You can choose gratitude and intention right now, exactly as you are. So, as you move through your day, try to catch yourself in the act of appreciating something, no matter how small. Notice how it feels. Let that feeling linger. And when you reach a crossroads, maybe you're about to react out of frustration, or rush through a conversation, pause. Ask yourself, what choice lines up with who I want to be? That pause is all it takes to bring intention back into the moment. If you want to go deeper, take a few minutes at the end of the week to reflect. What choices brought you peace? When did you feel most grateful, most aligned? What could you do differently next week? These gentle check-ins help you adjust, fine-tune, and grow. Remember, living with gratitude and intention isn't about denying the hard parts of life. It's about refusing to let them define your whole experience. It's about choosing, over and over, to anchor yourself in what's good and to act in ways that honor your values. Jim Rohn's wisdom reminds us that peace is not out there, waiting for us to earn it. It's built, brick by brick, through how we see, how we think, and how we choose to respond. So, as you listen to this, maybe you're in the middle of a busy day. Maybe things feel chaotic, or maybe you're in a quiet season. Wherever you are, take a breath. Let yourself notice one thing you're grateful for, right now. Set one small intention for how you want to move through the next few hours. And remember, these choices are always available to you, no matter what's happening around you. You don't have to wait for the perfect circumstance to feel peaceful or happy. You can start right where you are, with whatever you have. Each moment, each breath, each choice, it's an opportunity to shift from stress to calm, from autopilot to awareness. Gratitude brings you back to the heart of your life. Intention gently steers you in the direction you want to go. If you practice these, even imperfectly, you'll notice that your days become richer. Your sense of peace grows, quietly, until it starts to shape the way you see everything. And that's the real power behind Jim Rohn's third rule. Living with gratitude and intention is not just a practice. It's a way of coming home to yourself, again and again, no matter what the world throws your way. When you think about inner peace, you might imagine sitting alone in a quiet room, breathing deeply, maybe even meditating. But here's something Jim Rohn understood so well: peace isn't always found in solitude. Very often, it's shaped and sustained by the people you open your heart to, the relationships you nurture, the connections you build, and maybe even the boundaries you set. Jim Rohn used to say, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." It sounds simple, but let that sink in for a moment. Who are your 5? Who fills your days with words, ideas, and energy? Are they lifting you up or pulling you down? Are they helping you find calm or adding to your stress? No one exists in a vacuum. We're all influenced, often in ways we don't even realize, by the attitudes and energies of those around us. If your world feels chaotic, ask yourself, am I surrounded by calm and thoughtful people, or by drama and negativity? Sometimes, the people we care about are struggling, too. That's just life. But Jim believed we each have a responsibility, not just to ourselves, but to everyone we touch, to be intentional about the company we keep. Think about your closest circle. Who do you turn to when life gets tough? Who do you celebrate with, confide in, dream with? Take a moment, right now, to picture those faces. What do you feel when you imagine being with them? Is it relief, joy, inspiration? Or is it tension, anxiety, maybe even guilt? It can be hard to look at our relationships this way. But if you're seeking inner peace, it matters. Jim Rohn didn't say to cut people out of your life at the first sign of trouble. Instead, he encouraged us to be mindful, to ask whether our connections are helping us grow, helping us stay centered, and helping us feel safe. So, how do you build meaningful connections that truly support your journey to peace? It starts with self-awareness. Who are you, really? What do you need, and what do you want to offer to others? When you show up authentically, without pretending, without wearing a mask, you attract people who see you, who value you for who you are. And that's the soil where real, lasting relationships can take root. Jim talked a lot about the power of positive influence. He believed that just as a healthy plant needs sunlight and water, a healthy mind needs encouragement, kindness, and honest feedback. Think about someone in your life who encourages you, even when you doubt yourself. Or someone who's willing to tell you the truth, gently, when you need to hear it. Those are the kinds of connections that help you stay grounded in the middle of chaos. Of course, not every relationship comes wrapped in positivity. Some people, maybe even family or old friends, carry a lot of their own pain, and sometimes that spills over. So what do you do? Jim Rohn's answer was boundaries. For many of us, the word boundaries sounds harsh. But really, boundaries are just a way of honoring your own needs, while respecting others. They aren't walls. They're the gentle fences that help keep your garden healthy. If someone's words or actions repeatedly disrupt your peace, it's okay to step back. It's okay to limit your time, your energy, or even your conversations with them. That doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself and about them not to let things turn toxic. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're used to saying yes all the time. But remember, you don't owe anyone unlimited access to your heart, your time, or your energy. You have the right to protect your peace. Being clear and gentle about your limits isn't selfish. In fact, it's one of the kindest things you can do for yourself and for everyone around you. Jim Rohn often reminded his audiences that we can't control other people. We can only control how we respond. If someone in your life constantly brings chaos, you get to decide how much you let that into your own world. You get to choose how close you let them come. It's not easy, but it's a vital part of preserving your inner calm. So, how do you start? Begin by noticing how you feel after spending time with someone. Are you energized, uplifted, understood? Or are you left feeling drained, anxious, or on edge? Your emotions are messengers. They let you know where your boundaries might need a little reinforcement. It's not just about avoiding negative influences, though. Building meaningful connections also means seeking out people who inspire you, challenge you, and help you become the best version of yourself. Who in your life makes you laugh until your stomach hurts? Who encourages you to follow your dreams, even when you're scared? Who listens, really listens, when you speak? These kinds of relationships don't always just fall into your lap. Sometimes, you have to cultivate them. That might mean reaching out, even when you're feeling shy or unsure. It could mean joining a community, a club, or even just starting a conversation with someone new. Jim believed that personal growth happens when we stretch beyond our comfort zones, especially in the company we keep. If you're looking to add more positive influences to your life, try making a list of the qualities you admire. Is it kindness? Honesty? Optimism? Then look for opportunities to meet people who live by those values. When you do, show up as your real self and let curiosity lead the way. Ask questions. Listen deeply. Be open to learning and growing together. Don't forget, meaningful connections aren't just about what you get. They're also about what you give. Jim Rohn encouraged us to become someone worth connecting with. Be generous with your praise. Be quick to offer help, but also willing to accept it. Be the kind of friend, partner, or colleague you'd like to have in your own life. When you give without keeping score, relationships deepen and trust grows. That kind of trust becomes a safe harbor during life storms, a place you can return to find calm when everything else feels overwhelming. But what about those relationships that are complicated? We all have them. The friend who always seems to need something from you, but never has time to listen. The relative who criticizes every choice you make. The coworker who delights in drama. It's tempting to just cut people off, especially when you're trying to protect your peace. But Jim Rohn challenged us to handle these situations with kindness and clarity. Sometimes, all it takes is a simple, honest conversation. Let the other person know how their actions make you feel, and what you need to feel safe and respected. It won't always be easy, and not everyone will understand. But you owe it to yourself to try. If things don't change, that's when boundaries become even more important. Decide how much time or emotional energy you're willing to invest. It's okay to say no. It's okay to take a step back when someone's presence puts your well-being at risk. And if you do decide to step away, do it with compassion. Wish that person well, even if you need to love them from a distance. Release any guilt or resentment. Remind yourself that you're not abandoning anyone, you're choosing peace, for yourself and for those you love. Sometimes, building meaningful connections also means healing old wounds. Maybe you've been hurt or let down in the past. Maybe you're carrying pain that makes it hard to trust. Jim Rohn encouraged us to forgive, not for the other person's sake, but for our own. Forgiveness is a powerful act of self-care. It frees up space inside you, space that can be filled with understanding and connection, instead of anger and pain. If forgiveness feels too hard right now, start with acceptance. Accept what's happened. Accept your feelings. Then, little by little, allow yourself to move forward. You deserve relationships that feel safe and nourishing. You deserve to be surrounded by people who treat you with respect, kindness, and love. There's another side to this, too. Sometimes, we're the ones who need forgiveness. Maybe you've made a mistake. Maybe you've let someone down, or let your own stress spill into your relationships. That's okay. We're all human. The important thing is to be honest, to apologize when needed, and to do better moving forward. Jim Rohn believed that personal responsibility is the cornerstone of every healthy relationship. If you want more peace in your life, take a look at how you show up for others. Are you offering support? Are you showing patience, even when you're frustrated? Are you communicating clearly and kindly? You don't have to be perfect. No one is. But every effort you make to listen, to understand, to forgive, moves you closer to the kind of peaceful life you want. And it inspires others to do the same. Let's talk about community for a moment. You might think of inner peace as something personal, something you build inside yourself. And that's true. But Jim Rohn often reminded us that we're all part of a larger tapestry. Whether it's your family, your friends, your colleagues, or your local community, every connection matters. If you're feeling lonely or disconnected, you're not alone. Modern life can be isolating, even though we're more connected than ever before. It takes courage to reach out, to start a conversation, to ask for help, or to invite someone into your life. But those are the first steps to building a supportive, peaceful network. Try volunteering, or joining a group that shares your interests. Sign up for a class. Attend a local event. Or simply send a message to someone you haven't spoken to in a while. You never know what kind of beautiful, soul-nourishing connection might grow from a single act of reaching out. Remember, too, that real connection goes beyond small talk. It's about being vulnerable. It's about sharing your hopes, your fears, your dreams. When you let your guard down, even just a little, you give others permission to do the same. That's how trust is built, and how deep, lasting bonds are formed. Maybe you're thinking, but I'm an introvert, or I'm shy. That's okay. You don't need a huge circle of friends to find peace. A few genuine, meaningful relationships can make all the difference. Focus on quality, not quantity. It's also worth mentioning that meaningful connections aren't just with other people. They can be with animals, with nature, with a higher power, or even with yourself. If you don't have the support you need right now, start by being your own best friend. Treat yourself with kindness and patience. Speak gently to yourself. Celebrate your efforts, and forgive your mistakes. The more you practice self-compassion, the more you'll attract people who reflect that same energy back to you. Jim Rohn often said, if you want to have more, you have to become more. That applies to relationships, too. Be the calm, the kindness, the understanding you want to see in the world. Over time, you'll notice your circle changing. Some people will drift away, and that's okay. Others will draw closer. You'll find that your life starts to feel lighter, more peaceful, and more joyful. You'll feel safer being yourself. Think of it like tending a garden. You plant seeds of kindness, honesty, and respect. You water them with time and attention. You pull out the weeds, resentments, grudges, toxic patterns, so there's room to grow. And with patience, your garden flourishes. Sometimes, you'll need help tending that garden. Maybe from a mentor, a therapist, or a wise friend. Don't be afraid to ask for guidance. Jim Rohn himself had mentors who shaped his thinking and helped him stay grounded. We all need support. And if you're in a position to help someone else, even in a small way, do it. It could be as simple as a kind word, a listening ear, or a gentle reminder that they're not alone. These gestures of connection are like ripples in a pond. They spread farther than you'll ever know. Let's pause here, just for a moment. Take a deep breath. Bring to mind one relationship in your life that brings you peace. Notice what feels good about it. Is it the understanding, the trust, the laughter, or maybe just the sense of being seen and heard? Now, think about one connection that feels challenging. What could shift if you set a loving boundary, or opened up an honest conversation? What would happen if you showed compassion to them and to yourself? Building meaningful connections isn't a quick fix. It's a lifelong practice, a process of learning and unlearning, of giving and receiving. But it's worth every effort. Jim Rohn would remind us that inner peace is built one choice at a time, and that includes the choices we make about our relationships. Choose people who help you grow. Choose conversations that lift you up. Choose boundaries that honor your needs. And above all, choose kindness for yourself and for everyone you meet. That's how you make the journey from chaos to calm, not just alone, but together. As we move forward, remember, the company you keep shapes your state of mind, your heart, and your sense of peace. Be intentional. Be brave. And know that you deserve connections that support your journey to a more peaceful, purposeful life. As we come to the end of our time together today, I want to take a deep breath with you. Just a simple inhale, right where you are, and let it out slowly. Because after everything we've explored, I think it's important to pause and let it all land. Let it settle for a moment. You've just taken in Jim Rohn's 5 essential rules for cultivating inner peace. And honestly, I don't think there's a single person listening who can't use a little more calm in their life. Maybe you're facing a storm right now. Maybe life feels loud, demanding, or even a little bit overwhelming. Or maybe you're just craving that sense of stillness, the kind that comes from knowing you're anchored inside, no matter what's happening on the surface. Wherever you find yourself today, I want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for caring about yourself enough to hit play, to listen, to let these ideas sink in. Because that's where it all starts. See, inner peace isn't something you find on the mountaintop after years of searching. It's not this far-off finish line that only a chosen few ever reach. It's built in the moments just like this one, when you decide to pause, to reflect, and to make a different choice. That's what Jim Rohn understood so well. He taught that peace, real, lasting, Solid peace is something we create, one decision at a time. It's not about having a perfect life. It's not about finding some magical place where nothing goes wrong and everything is easy. It's about learning to anchor yourself inside, no matter what's happening around you. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a gentle encouragement. Think back to the 5 rules we talked about. Maybe one of them really stood out to you today. Maybe you realize that mastering your thoughts is your next step, or perhaps you're ready to start reframing those tough emotions instead of getting trapped in them. Maybe you want to focus on gratitude, or on being more intentional with your choices. Or maybe, for you, it's about finding your people, those connections that really support and uplift you. Whatever it is, I want you to know, you do not have to do it all at once. There is no perfect, polished version of inner peace. Life will always bring challenges. There will be days when you feel off-center, when your mind is noisy, or when your emotions feel too big. That's normal. That's part of being human. What matters is that you keep returning to these practices. Just a little bit, every day. Because the truth is, inner peace isn't a destination you suddenly arrive at, never to leave again. It's more like a home base, a place you can return to, over and over. Some days, it's easier. Some days, it's harder. But with each decision, each tiny step, you strengthen that sense of calm within you. I hope you remember that. I hope you remember that your peace is worth protecting. It's worth cultivating. Even on the days when it feels a little out of reach, it's still there, like a quiet current underneath the surface, just waiting for you to notice it again. If you take nothing else away from today, let it be this: you have the power to choose peace. Not once and for all, but moment by moment. When your mind starts to spiral, you can choose to pause and redirect your thoughts. When stress rises up, you can choose to get curious instead of critical. When life feels heavy, you can choose to see what's still good, what's still working, what you're grateful for. When relationships feel draining, you can choose who you let close and how much energy you give. With every little choice, you're shaping your own experience of calm. And isn't that a relief? Isn't it comforting to know that you don't have to wait for the world to slow down or for someone else to make things easier? You get to start where you are, with what you have, right now. So, as you move through the rest of your day, I invite you to pick just one of these 5 rules and practice it. Not perfectly. Not with pressure. But gently, as an act of self-care. Maybe it's catching yourself when your thoughts run wild, or writing down something you're grateful for, or taking a minute to check in with someone who lifts your spirits. It doesn't have to be big. Tiny shifts add up. Before I say goodbye, I want to share a story with you, a real, everyday example of what coming back to calm can look like. There was a listener who wrote in a few weeks ago. She said that for the longest time, she thought peace was something that would come after she finally solved all her problems. She chased it in books, in routines, in productivity hacks, you name it. But one day, after a tough morning, she remembered the idea of mastering her thoughts. She decided to just sit, take a breath, and notice what was running through her mind, without judgment, just curiosity. She didn't force herself to think positive or deny her feelings. She just observed. And in that simple act, she found a sliver of quiet. Not total serenity. Just a small, calm space that helped her move forward with a little more ease. That's what we're really talking about here. Not perfection, but practice. Not escape, but engagement. The more you make space for these small, intentional choices, the more resilient your sense of peace becomes. It can bend. It can flex. It can hold you, even when life gets rough. So, as we close, I want to say thank you again. Thank you for letting me join you on this journey, even for just a little while. Thank you for being willing to look inward, to explore what's possible, and for trusting in your own ability to create change. I know that can feel vulnerable. I know it takes courage. If you ever find yourself drifting away from that calm, or questioning whether you can really come back to it, I hope you remember this: every single day, with every new choice, you can return to peace. It's not about fixing everything. It's about finding that inner anchor and letting yourself settle, even for a moment. And remember, you're not alone in this. We all have days when things feel heavy, or when we slip back into old habits. That's okay. That's human. What matters is your willingness to try again, to lean into these rules, and to keep moving forward. Each step, each breath, each tiny act of kindness to yourself adds up. Over time, you'll start to notice the difference. If you found value in today's episode, or if something resonated with you, I'd love for you to carry it with you into the rest of your week. Maybe share it with someone who could use a little peace right now. And if you ever need a reminder, know that these ideas will always be here for you. That's what Yes You Can is all about: growing together, supporting each other, and reminding ourselves that calm is possible, even in the middle of chaos. Sometimes, the world can make us feel like we have to do it all alone. But you don't. We're in this together. Each person who chooses a little more presence, a little more gratitude, a little more kindness, well, that ripples out. It changes households. It changes workplaces. It changes communities. Your peace matters, not just to you, but to everyone around you. So, here's my invitation. Keep practicing these 5 rules, in your own way, at your own pace. Let them be tools you can reach for whenever you need them. Revisit them on the hard days. Celebrate your progress on the good days. Trust yourself enough to come back to calm, again and again. If you ever want more support, or if you're looking for fresh inspiration, remember that you can always come back to us here. We'll be waiting with more wisdom, more stories, and more gentle reminders that yes, you really can create the peace you seek. Take care of yourself today. Go gently. And whenever the world feels overwhelming, know that you have everything you need, right inside you, to return to calm. Thank you for listening, for showing up, and, most importantly, for choosing yourself. Until next time, keep coming back to those small, intentional choices. One breath at a time. One thought at a time. One day at a time. And always remember, inner peace isn't a final stop. It's a lifelong practice. A direction you can turn toward whenever you want. We'll be here, cheering you on, every step of the way. Be well, and I look forward to connecting again soon. You've got this.